terms in terms of understanding carbonatites and their mineralogy. This pyramid and these dots, they indicate the minerals that we should anticipate when working with the carbonatites. Actually, these are major minerals. They are those small ones which host minerals, these critical deposits. The general minerals that are helping to the classification and the definition of carbonatites, they include calcite dominated carbonatite will be known as sulfite. So just know that. If you want a calcite domination, this is sulfite. You might read the papers, they get boring to you, but this is a key and the simple terms of defining this. It's not a sky, actually, sky science. Haujite, matemo hayo watu wanaokaa kwenye carbonatite wao mwambie kwamba this is dolomite dominated carbonatite. Mtu akikwambia the phosphite wanapenda kwa is just horite, calcium, magnesium dominated carbonatite. Akipiga na term lingine just to refer to this term. And these kind of deposits are a significant source of rare elements, as we have just spoken. Now, associated trace minerals that host these important deposits are these. Astenosite, this is hosting rare earth, starting from cerium, lanthanum, and here you see carbonate and the fluoride, monazite, xenotime, apatite, ancilite. For niobium, it is hosted by pyrophora as a mineral, columbite, also apatite. When you deal with phosphate, it's simply apatite. Apatite is just calcium phosphate. It can have water or chlorine like gaseous component within the structure. Fluorite is fluorite, you know, beautiful crystals of fluorite. And we have global deposits as examples and the references therein. So you can go to those references for more insights. Now let's go to one of the deposits, starting with the Wigu. It looks like this, so beautiful. It's a big hill, so huge. And here is at Kisaki. When you take Tazara, you drop from Kisaki there. You can access it as you go back to Morogoro somewhere. There's a river passing there, and then you can see it beautifully like this. The entire thing actually is dominated by carbonate. So the deposit is so huge, so huge. This is a geological map indicating a regional trend. This is Wild Hills more within the Mozambique belt. You can renew your geology of Mozambique belt. 2 seconds break. Please stand up. It's important. Get seated. That was 2 seconds. Thank you. Bring your focus. Okay, this is the local map of the hill. As you can see it, you see beautiful rock dominance, the dikes in purple. These ones, they are the hosts of rare earth minerals, and you have other rocks. Or these purples, actually, they have been mapped. This is by Sigriff 2010 and Eggleston and the Stripes. These guys actually did this mapping and provided this map. Carbonatite has been on target since colonial time. So you see, it's not today's business. GST has been there since the era of James etc. And you see several companies coming in for reconnaissance, etc. So the history is not starting today. It has been there being explored by several companies. Now, let's go to the mineralogy, petrology of this deposit in a nutshell. So you see the dikes, which I just spoke about, they have these beautiful crystals with angles. They are so big. You can see the scale of 2 centimeters. It's so big, come on. It's very big. These are minerals which have been altered. If you look through the microscope and do the microprobing, you see a mineral like sinchite, which bears cerium and lanthanum, and you have barite in there, sinchite again, and stensite. So these are minerals which host this kind of rare earth. So you can have calcium rare earth in sinchite and rare earth. So when you avoid, you cannot escape to know how minerals look like. Otherwise, you will suffer, I'm afraid. You need to revise your petrology, at least to know how the minerals look like. You should read. If you come across the word sinchite, just go to the internet and search images. You see how it looks like. Sometimes you can stumble it on the field and you can identify it by yourself. You don't need a professor to do that. Simple, yeah? Today we have all the technologies, including the AI, for identification of minerals. So let's go to Tgs deposit in Mbeya. Maliko Mbeya? Mbeya? Okay. It's a small hill, that's why it's not getting much of the attention. The extension of it is just to the border. Here, you go to Malawi. And here in Malawi, there are actually known deposits for carbonatites. They have huge resources than us in terms of this type, but we have more of different edges within our region. So the Tgs deposit, as I said, is a small hill, as it can be seen here, and it is strongly deformed. You see some of the outcrops aligned due to deformation and erosion, because carbonatites are susceptible to rain and dissolution. So you remain with these kind of structures that can be seen, and the mineralogy is calcite, apatite, fluorite, and pyrite. These are major minerals. You can see them in the thin section. You have apatite, you have these pyrite, calcite, etc. These pictures are part of the master service of Mr. Alex. And if you look structurally, the deposits is strongly actually aligned within the Ubenga belt. These are 33 number of foliation measurements. As you can see the trends, it's well aligned to the Ubenga structure. It means that it is either deformed during the Ubenga events, or it just entered through the fissures that were aligned within the Ubenga belt. But there is deformation in it. So we think it has been formed during the Ubenga events, which I'm going to discuss later when we discuss on the geodynamics. So those are structures. Let's go to the Panda Hill one. You have Niobium apatite deposit. It's round, it's a hill, which does not show deformation. You can see the distance from, if you go back to the map, from Tgs to Panda Hill. It's so close. This one is strongly deformed. This one is not so deformed. So it preserves the structure of a plug as it was influenced. So, so this is Panda Hill. So Panda Hill, a plug of Panda Hill looks like this, forming a hill which has been eroded. It was so maybe like this, but it has been eroded because of rain and some tectonics. It's sulfite dominated. It is white calcite with magnetite forming Schirrle structures, and intruded by rodent or default-site dikes. Those terms are now not difficult because now we know them. Yeah? So, you see the percentage of dominance of these kind of lithologies within the panda here. And this has been also getting attention. It is active. There are some companies which are interested in mining it. And other little stories of these kind of deposits during Corona times, they were building prisons close to those deposits, protecting them. Prison, prison. So uko nazilinda kulinda serikali. Ukienda pale ni jeshi. Kuna pattern hiyo, they were building prisons in strategic deposits. Sasa wana negotiate kuiamisha jeshi pale. Jeshi sio hizi. Okay. Let's proceed. Now that was Chapo, and if you go to the petrochemistry, you see beautiful pyrochlore crystals, and if you take a section through pyrochlore, you see the niobium dominance as a mineral within that pyrochlore. This is a profile. This paper has been published on 17. You can get it telephone line. And thorium uranium is so down, which is a good news, because once you have projected thorium uranium, it means environmental problems. So it's radioactive. They are radioactive elements. Now we have done with the general overview. Let's go to the safety and the environmental aspects that can be associated with this kind of deposits. Let me take you through this slide. I read, carbonatites can concentrate radioactive elements like uranium and thorium through magmatic and hydrothermal processes. These elements are hosted in specific minerals due to their chemical compatibility and ability to substitute for other elements in minerals. Mechanisms, how do they get in there? You know, substitutions, if you study crystal chemistry, you know, uranium 4, thorium the charge of 4, and the isotope of potassium, because of their atomic radius size. You know, minerals houses of accommodate different size of elements. Not all rooms can accommodate everything. So if the mineral has a room which can accommodate this, the size of calcium can be actually substituted by this. So that's why you can concentrate these lethal elements in these deposits because of calcium. And you can have these minerals with calcium or other of the like monazite, silicon, and the pyrochlore. They can incorporate these dangerous minerals. So that's why when you study these deposits, you should take into consideration of the environmental aspects. You can find a good deposit with the promising results, but later you're going to pollute your groundwater, you're going to kill your people just because you're mining rare earth, etc. So the precautions that we took is to measure the levels of emissions on those deposits from Nachingezawaya. Some samples are there, Ngwala, some samples, and the Panda Hill, some samples. So these are like preliminary information, but we need to do more. So as geologists, as supervisors of policies in the government, whatever you want to do, make sure that you stress on this when you're dealing with these kind of deposits. And we have TAEC, the Tanzania Commission for TAEC, Tanzania Commission atomic, yes, yeah, the atomic, wana kufanya za kusaidia kupima. So we did measure this data from there. So you can establish this kind of information. Now, the levels that are permitted are here for potassium isotope. But the radiations in our samples, so radiation is full equal. The radiation is there, it's not zero. Is at this level in our samples that we do. It means that these measurements, when we speak of Q per kilogram, it means every kilogram of the potassium 40 isotope is accepted to emit only 400 decays per second. Beyond that, it's not recommended, or it's not good. Now, if you go to the second, you see now radium. You don't dwell with only one element. Go to other elements. Radium. Radium, if this sample is so high, surpassing the level that is recommended by global standards. So another part a red light, here again, and there. So you have to be careful. So the radium is elevated. Radium 226. Thorium, what about thorium? This sample under here is elevated. It's above the accepted 260 Ks per kilograms of the global standards established by UN's clear. This is data from 2000. So we have some issues now. If you think of the total radiations plotted together, you see some of these samples, they are showing elevation beyond the accepted global standards. These lines which are horizontal, and this one here. So we must be cautious as we deal with this kind of deposit. We have seen one sample from Tgs Annual with high emissions reaching this amount. So implication that will be significant health and environmental risks due to long-term exposure with this sample. So we need to conduct detailed risk assessment for environmental impact assessment. That's why we need to work together with those other departments of the government. Geology, water, environment, etc. So we must form a team. And other samples are okay. If you go to Panda Hill, you have also increased the gamma radiation exposure from this sample due to thorium decay. So this can be during mining or processing, and this can cause threats in safety. So recommendation, implement continuous radiation monitoring. And educate the community on potential risks, establishing restricted areas for high radiation zones, if identified. Sometimes within the deposit itself, not everywhere there are radiations. So you must map and establish where are radiations and where is safe. So those which are actually not safe, you mark them for safety. And follow international standards. Follow international standards and educate communities. Then you'll be safe. Now, general recommendations, provide dosimeter and ensure workers receive proper radiation safety training. That's a little issue. You must continue with that. So you must set aside funds for research and development and make sure that you work with the universities, because we're doing research from time to time, work with the other institutions which are research oriented, like TGS, GST, TPDC, I think they are doing research, etc. And the STAMICO. Environmental impact management, implement strict waste management protocols to prevent contamination, monitor groundwater and soil for radionuclides leaks. Community engagement, that's when you can get problems with people who are actually trying to protect the environment. Raise awareness among local communities about safety measures and the potential risks. Some big global funders, if you don't engage community, they don't give you money. If you don't evaluate this kind of things, including the World Bank. Compliance, adhere to international standards, and the periodical audit, the radiological safety practices. Now let's go to the last objective. Overview of geodynamics. What geologists also are. Okay? Geochronology. That's when you start getting information on how geodynamics were in those times. The dating of these deposits by Alex and the others on his master thesis, choosing some deposits. In Wala, you see this age, 1280, 1080 million, and 1184 million for the Tgs Annual. And these ages are computed from the core of beautifully preserved mathematical appetite. So it means that getting this data from the core of appetite, which is dark, you are mapping the emplacement, you are establishing the age of the magma eruption. Proterozoic magma emplacement. But beautifully, we could get another kind of zircons, apatite, which are actually eroded by reactions due to metamorphic processes. And these are rounded. It's just like transporting sediments along river banks. They get eroded and you get them rounded. So when you have metamorphic reactions, you can round the minerals which are prismatic, etc. So these are rounded, and they give these young ages, 690, 662. So it means that these, we have seen the Tgs Annual deposit being formed. Probably it was emplaced at about 1,000 and it was reworked by metamorphic actions at around 660. So the alignment is due to events which I'm going to discuss in a few moments. Now, there is a work of Sam et al. 2021 in the Baizi. Okay, then this one is about 116. It's very young deposit. And it's well preserved, no deformation which can be seen in that kind of deposit. Now, if you go at the regional data on the age and the geodynamics of the region, you see these edges are everywhere. And they're associated with rifting, which are known from the Usagaram, shear strike slip movement within the Ugandan belt at these edges. So it means there are regional tectonic movements that also affected these kind of deposits which were much older. And these edges, the shear zones which are mapped are between 650 to about 500. So you can see they match with the event of forming this kind of deposits within the region. Now, what happened? Why did these movements occur? We have other evidences. We have the evidence of remains of oceans. This was also my talk 2 years ago. You can recall my talk on the relics of the oceans that existed within the Ugandan belt. So there was opening. So this event here, it means you are rifting. This one, you are rifting and closing of ocean basins, which is actually seen with the formation of eclogites which form the subduction zones at about 590 to 520. And surrounding rocks like igneous reports the same information. So you can read it. Now, you have another evidence on the alkali magmas throughout, including the Kabanga Musongati alignment, Kapalaguru, Mbozi alkali magmas, Chimala alkali magmas that complement this kind of information. Now, you have this model where you had the rifting, which is failing, and the formation of successive rift within the Median Belt, and this rifting, which is between 1400 to 650, around that, formed, resulted to the emplacement of these alkali and the carbonatite minerals within the Median Belt and the other parts of Tanzania. Now, the Ufipa Ocean existed and it closed, and the story was over, but we can create a model that describes what happened elsewhere in the globe. At around Mesoproterozoic, the Ngwala, Nachilizawa, and the Kola, they were rifted, and they have a placement of carbonatites. And they formed successful oceans which subducted, and these are remaining there. The carbonatites are the margins of the carbons, so the carbon and liquid. But after the completion of collision, these carbonatites can be taken and preserved within the subductions and the orogenic belts. And if you have other events, you can recycle them by rifting, younger rifting. Now, Mbalizi, Padahil, which are about 170 million years, they are part of that during Cretaceous. But the younger rift of East African origin is another event of rifting, which is much younger than this event which we have marked. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Asante sana Profesa. Kama kuna mjumbe yote ambaye ana maswali, mchango, tutaruhusu wachache kwa kuzingatia muda. Nafasi tatu kwa sababu ya muda.
Thank you, Professor, for the presentation and for taking us back to the class. Yeah, my question is, with the current move of the government in collecting further detailed geophysical data, which I'm sure also critical mineral is the objective, where will you recommend for them to fly so as to target this geology, which is prospective for critical minerals?
Yeah, and we have mapped our rifts, the ancient one, including the 1200, etc. So we need to have the map of rift events, because we know these guys occur in the rift zones. And we have seen several rifts occurring within this beautiful land of ours. We know now at least 4 different rift systems. So we need to know, to have data on the distribution of the edges of rifts. That's where they should be flying. And we need also to have a compiled information on edge and the dynamics of the region. And the best place to dwell on is there's mobile belts. And nowadays, plumes, they are trying to rift, but the rifting is actually reflected to the weak zones of the margins of the craton, including the Median Belt, the East African origin, and the Kibara to the north, Caribbean Column. So when you rift zones, when you mobile belts, it's so critical, because once you have plumes, the plumes would like to go to the weak zones and the rift zones. So go to the rift zones. Go to the orogenic belts. That's where it should fly.
Asante. My name is Jared. I'm a student at the School of Mines. My question, Professor, is apart from the apatite dating, do we have any supporting edge dates, at least surrounding these targets, carbonatite targets? to give us the confidence that we are pressed off, because still you can see the age error numbers, so we really don't know when. Like some of it falls in relatively compressive stress in the Kibara, for instance. And we see that is happening here as you are opening up or you are just finishing the. So do we have any other, I know zircons are not available, but, or maybe other techniques which will build on this and give us more confidence?
Yeah, thank you. We have more data on zircons, for instance. This one is zircon uranium red from the market to find zircons. They are not so easy. The difficult thing with the carbonatites is to find datable minerals. But find them, the amount of uranium that is concentrating on those. So we have failed several times to try and dating them. But there are also data on potassium argon. If you fail to get zircons, you fail to get apatite, you can also find monazite, but we don't have monazite data. Now we are struggling. Actually, Mary is actually working hard to find datable minerals from the Wigu. We think maybe, we don't know the age of Wigu, but it's projected to be Karoo. Is it Karoo or not? Because of the surrounding rocks, surrounding environment. So it's difficult to get, but you can go for pyrochlore, it's datable. Monazite is datable. You can have apatite. Sometimes you can be lucky to find the zircon. And the zirconia, whatever. There are some.
Thank you, Professor, for the presentation. That was good. So, maybe I'm not giving a question, but I'm just giving a piece of advice, especially the source for minerals. So your talk was about the critical minerals, and there are three critical, even as you made the mention of different substances such as trade war, consequences, and whatever. If you look at the countries which are good, which are doing better than us in terms of economy, citing maybe the US or citing maybe China or Australia or Canada, the way they treat these minerals, I think we should follow their steps. We can't compare in terms of economy, we and those countries. I think in terms of strategy, we should be at least following their steps. So what the advice is, first of all, we should be ahead of any foreign company to know the volume of the resource that we have. Okay. Our institution, let's say the GST, they should be ahead of the game to know exactly in terms of industrial best practice, estimate the resource, the volume of the resource that we have at each community. That's number one. Number two, we should target having these minerals mined at least by, in terms of majority shareholding, by a company that is somehow owned by the government or the local company. So we have already Sandro, probably the government will think of another different company that will be on behalf of the government to represent the government to make sure that the state of the government in terms of these critical minerals are safe. That's number two. Number three, I think this is collaboration with the ministry which is responsible for industry, is to make sure that we attract the industry that they use these minerals, these commodities. If we end up exporting these commodities outside the country, we should be going back to the same problem that we're facing for the number of years in terms of minerals like diamond, tanzanite, and gold. That we didn't pay much of the value because we do to export the entire minerals outside. Number four is once we have the resources estimated, I think it's better to keep partly a secret. I know China is being blamed on that they don't really expose their data, the economic data But you have to know that these are critical. Second example of the US. The US is publishing the commodities for different countries for these critical minerals. They say lithium, but you will not find those report the lithium reserves that the US has. So it's publishing the lithium from different countries, but as we geologists, we know that there is lithium deposit in the US. But you cannot see in the report that they're publishing what volume of lithium they have in terms of reserves or resources. Thank you very much.
That was a comment. Thank you. But I see the seriousness how people are attending to the government is here.
Asante sana. Nahisi kwa ilivyo muda ukiangalia ratiba yetu kwamba tuko nje ya muda tuliokusudia, nadhani tumemalizia kwa maswali hayo. Tukushukuru sana Profesa kwa wasilishaji mzuri. Naamini kama kutakuwa kuna mtu ana maswali ya ziada, basi anaweza kutafuta fursa mbele, na imani yangu kwamba atakuwa tayari kwa ajili ya maswali hayo. Kwa kuendelea na ratiba, ningeomba nikaribishe Mr. Tgs Gama ambaye anakuja na presentation ya pili kwa leo, ambayo inahusu Tanzania Geological Society and its service to the society. Hapa hii ni presentation ambayo itakuwa na dakika 20, ambapo ndani ya dakika 20 hizo utakuwa kuna uwasilishaji wa dakika 5, lakini pia utakuwa kuna dakika 5 tu maswali, kuzingatia kwamba muda unaonyesha mkono sana. Kwa naomba wasilishaji lakini pia na wauzaji kujitahidi sana tuwezane na muda, kwa sababu kuna session kama hii kuhusiana na maswali kwa
So good afternoon. I'd like to acknowledge that all protocols are being observed, and before I continue with the issue that I want to present, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to the teachers, leadership, and management for the continued preparation on preparing these annual conferences. You know now that nowadays TGS has been a really geological time out, because we have both. We have scientific sessions and we have social sessions. Okay, and after almost 3 days of geo-socialization and geotourism, we could say like that. I remember what you enjoyed till yesterday. So I would like to welcome you to this brief presentation in which I intend to raise a debate. Mine is a debate, okay? That should guide us to discuss issues of concern or issues that interest us as the geoscientists, and that are of interest to our organization. So, as I've been introduced, I am Tgs Gama. Most of you, maybe you may think that I'm Brady Gama, is okay. So, from the University of Dar es Salaam, and I'm glad to present just after my supervisor and boss, Professor Nelson, supervised me at the highest level of education, a PhD. So I'm glad to follow him in presenting this. Okay, so those are the lines that will help us. That what is TGS? Probably it's a repetition because we have heard it several times, and what are main objectives. And so I will touch on TGRB because maybe it may affect TGS. And then what is TGS doing currently? And I will ask this question. Okay, and then what should TGS do to remain popular or relevant? And then I will welcome all of you to talk. I'm glad that this talk has been placed in the first day because it gives us ample time to discuss about it. It will not end here. Maybe throughout these 3 days, we'll be talking about it. Okay. So, according to the TGS website, it's an organization of geoscientists who work in all walks of geoscience in the country. So it is us. Most of you are here, you are working in different institutions, etc., but you are TGS members, or you are interested. So if you are not a geologist, if you are not an academician, if you are not working in a government institution, probably you are there. Okay? You are interested. Maybe you are own. Okay? And probably dissemination of information. Yeah? Sometimes they talk to the media. We talk in our groups. Okay? In our groups. The WhatsApp ones. Okay? Where we do almost everything, especially in the geoscientists. Sometimes we may even lose focus because we get out of it, but no problem. That is our the way we have to live. Okay? Because sometimes we need to distress ourselves. So if you get there, okay. Then to assist and advance the government of Tanzania, public and private companies and institutions on policy and technical matters pertaining to the development and promotion of the earth resource industry. Yeah, that's one of the objectives. Public, private companies, yes. Government, maybe. How does TGS advise the government? Maybe through its members. But here, I'm talking about TGS as a stand-alone, as an organization, not through individuals. Okay? And then, to assist the government and institutions in the acquisition and the training of the specialized personnel. Okay? The acquisition, I'm not sure, but specialized personnel, maybe because TGS prepares some trainings. So that's the way to get people who are well equipped. And for the last one, yeah, it's okay. Now, those are the objectives of TGS. As I said, since the existence of TGRB maybe can affect the presence of TGS, or TGS will have to find a way in order to coexist, because I think some of the functions that are currently carried out by TGS maybe will be now be carried out by TGRB. Now what is TGRB? Of course, we have heard from the morning, and now we have answers from the government that at which stage that legislation board is. We expect it, even though we've been hearing it soon, but that's the government saying, and we have to trust the government, right? So, among others, it will be to register and qualify geoscientists, okay? And then to control and supervise professionalism. And you heard from the president that we have the challenge of ethics among geoscientists, and that body, maybe one of the main tasks of that body will be to deal with geocajanjas, geologists wachoko, probably would say like that. For those people who do not work in a proper way, and therefore they cause loss to to people in such a way that there are people who do not want to hear about geologists. Kuna wachimbaji hawataki kabisa kusikia wataalamu. Okay? So maybe that body will help us. Okay? Now, but mind you, this TGRB is not coming to compete with Tgs. Not at all, because it's Tgs who is spearheading the establishment of this. And here, maybe we just find the way how Tgs exists and TGRB exists, but they are not competing. If it was a matter of competition, then I don't think that Tgs could focus so much on establishment of this. Now, recently Tgs has been preparing short courses. I remember several of them. Geophysics, with Dr. Marobe has been teaching several. And then there was a training on the use of drones some months ago. Okay? But don't forget geo-recreation, like we did in the past 3 days. That has been organized by Tgs. So that's one of the activities. Okay? And then this major event, organizing these annual conferences. But don't forget that through Tgs, the forums that are conducted by Tgs, we've been getting a lot of information on these scientific findings. And on top of that, the work that has been done or carried by the Tgs management, they have managed now to establish our own journal, the Journal of Tanzania Geological Society, and its operation. I think we got information recently that there are some papers that have been published there. So that is a highly recommended work on sharing your scientific findings. Okay? But when we meet in meetings like this one, we get connection. Scientific connection. Because nowadays, when we talk of connection, we need to be careful. But I'm talking of the good ones, okay? Networking, right? So, now, another question that I'm asking myself, is Tgs popular among geoscientists? Is it popular? On my side, I have two conflicting answers. I say yes, that's why we are here. For us who are here, yes, it's popular. And I could say no. Why? Now, see, yes, because if we remember the time we started, or our management started to organize these meetings, okay, there were very few people attending. Why? Because maybe finance, maybe not interested, maybe because Tgs was a sleeping organization. Okay? But nowadays, we find out that the number of people participating is increasing. Based on the current data, it's almost 250 members. But that varies. How does it vary? Because we normally tend to pay our membership fees when we want to attend the conferences. So that number will vary due to finance, one. Two, maybe it depends where the conference is. If the conference is in a place that is not of interest to majority, then people will not tend to attend. But one thing is that the number is not high. Why is that? Maybe because joining Tgs is not mandatory. We are not forced to join Tgs, okay? And in some places or some companies, it has come to the point that employers find it irrelevant to allow the geologists to attend these meetings because it's not the issue, or they are not obliged to attend. Since it's not the matter of compliance, we attend at our own will, Okay? And then, due to that, some companies will not allow their members to join us. Remind you, if I'm correct, the president mentioned that we have the country has about 4,000 geologists. Now, if current members are 250 out of 4,000, it means only 6% of all geologists in the country are currently members of TGS. So I would say that now that question, or that it's no to that, okay? And it can be supported by, if we have 4,000 and yearly we have almost 120 geologists, if we graduate geologists, if we combine University of Dar es Salaam and UDOM, that's an approximate. Sometimes can even be more than 150, depending on the particular year. Okay. Now, also to some people that teaches, does not feature as the organization on matters that are related to the field. Now, let me hurry up so that we have time to discuss. Okay. Now, what should TGS do to remain relevant? One is to make sure that it reaches the young generation. Why young generation? Because I can testify that nowadays you find a lot of people attending these meetings are the young geologists. Why? Because since when they were students, and most of them are students, okay, they heard about the TGS, and TGS supported them to attend these meetings. Therefore, they have already an understanding of what TGS is, and that's why they don't, or they cannot afford to miss these meetings. I don't say that Mr. Kalomba and the others are not should not be reached out, no. But that's the way to make a thing live, okay? And we heard that TGS has got a company, so I think it's time now that company to be strengthened and the members to give support to it so that it works, and we know that sometimes people or geologists will have to join the company so that the work will work. In such case, or in that way, people will find it to be relevant, that the TGS is relevant to them. Okay, but as now the president has already talked about this, and then maybe I should not speak so much about it. How should teachers be involved directly to these national campaigns like Vision 2030? We know that in that vision, the effort is on exploration, on mapping, but we are sure that the government institutions that are concerned with that, they cannot cover the whole country alone. Now, it's time that the TGS as a standalone should find a way of collaborating with the government on that issue. Okay? So now the question is, does TGS matter as a standalone? And I welcome the debate.
Thank you so much for session. Nadhani presentation based on our own taasisi au tunasema society ni vitu ambavyo vinaeleweka sana, na kwa kuzingatia muda, kama kuna mchango tutatoa nafasi kwa mtu mmoja au wawili wakati wahusika na wanahamisha vifaa ili tuweze kuendelea na session nyingine hapa na discussion. Kwa hiyo kama kuna mchangiaji mmoja au wawili tutatoa nafasi, then wahusika watakuwa wanaendelea kuhamisha hivi vitu tukiandaa ambaye ndio atakayekuwa mshauri wetu mkuu katika session inayofuata aweze kujiandaa kwa ajili ya kuendelea na event hii. Asante. Kama kuna jambo lolote.
Thank you, Dr. Gama, for coming up with this discussion, whether TGS is relevant or not. And we are sure out of this discussion, a lot of ideas will come out on how TGS will coexist with the TGRB. And for me, I don't see any kind of, I would say, competition or collision between the two institutions. So long as we are human beings, we are innovative to make sure that the relevance of TGS itself is there, and the relevance of TGRB is there and welcome. Actually, we are not only welcoming, we are fighting to have it. For me, I think still there is a lot the activities to be undertaken by TGS in the existing environment where there is TGRB. And we have started to change. If you remember, the days as a company for investment for the TGS members has been established not more than 3 years ago. And that was among the solutions or environments which are innovatively created to make sure that there is coexistence, peaceful coexistence between TGRB and TGS. Because I understand that maybe after the officialization of the TGRB, probably the conferences such as this, the video, maybe TGRB will own. And how will we involve in that? It maybe depends with the leader and maybe the policy of the TGRB itself. Now, by having, I would say, the relevance of TGS as a way forward must focus on the well-being of its members. For example, I was interviewed on the matter of nurturing the young geologists, the students as well as young career geologists. That should be the focus. But not only that. When I say the well-being, I also mean the financial well-being of the geologist. We must also focus to make sure that the geologist is somebody who is representing the society, which works in the earth resources, which has its specialization in the earth resources, I mean minerals, oil and gas, water, etc. If you close your eyes and try to think of a geologist who is actively engaged in earth resources, you will see a geologist who is well, not suffering financially. How should we do that? Those are the kind of maybe ideas. But the focus should be on career, nurturing of young geos, but also we will not end in making sure that the agendas, which are very important for the nation, but also very important for us, we have our part or we have a stake to make sure that we promote them, like the way we are promoting TGRB. So for me, I see like the way we are going, TGRB will need teachers. It will need teachers because always there are some gaps, and maybe because of the policy, etc., TGRB will not be able to handle those gaps, and those are the areas which we are supposed to focus as well. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
know, will TGRB enroll TGS or not? And which one will be a parent? Is it someone to be a TGS member to first be a TGRB member first, or which is which? That's one. Because what I think is, for example, if you want to be a TGS member, maybe you have to publish in TGRB a paper, maybe to be a member, which will be the parent of the other. Second, since we started in the morning, I can see something like TGS motto. I don't know, we have a motto, or our only greetings is TGS members. I think we should look on that. Third, because I know through the objectives of TGS, we have a lot of objectives also there. We are more than 150 geologists. Do we think of collaborating with the Panico and GST to make a technical team for exploration all over the country QBS to support the investment, maybe in small scale mine or FDI? What is our view as these members is supporting the government to exploration activities?
Thank you. Now, the first question was about between TGS and TGRB, who will be the parent? That is TGS the parent to TGRB, or for one to be a member in TGS or in TGRB? Is it supposed to be the member of the other? But for that question, I don't think that one to be a member of TGRB is supposed to be the member of TGS. But TGRB will be a legal institution or a legal board through which people who want to practice as geologists are supposed to be registered. It's like nowadays we have TLS, that if you are an advocate, right, then you're automatically a member of TLS. Okay? And you have to pay all the fees. And you cannot practice if you are not an advocate. A lawyer cannot practice if he or she is not an advocate. So, now, who will be the parent? I don't know, but I know that you have to be registered in order to practice. Maybe the leadership can assist us.
Yeah, who will be the parent? Possibly TGS. It's because you are the one campaigning the establishment of the TGRB, right? So that is logical. But if we do have TACE, which is the investment company for TGS, right? I think between the person with money and the one who doesn't have money, who will be the parent? So I think with our financial stability as TGS, we will still exist and will be a supporting tool to TGRB. We want TGRB to perform effectively, and I don't see any problem. I see a lot of opportunity in TGS when it comes to investment, and that should be our focus. And this money that we are going to get should be for the development of our members, the young GEOs, but also other GEOs as well. I thank you very much.
Yeah, another question. What is the motto for TGS? So maybe the Secretary General, Dr. Kazimoto, can answer what is the motto for TGS. If you can. Okay. Another one was the collaboration, and that's what I mentioned, that in Vision 2030, that the ministry is insisting to work and find out new discoveries, right? It's one of the issue. It's not the only one. Okay? Now, we all, that being in the government institution, being in private sector, need to assist, to work on that. Because as the vision itself says, madini ni maisha, madini ni utajiri, and everyone needs money. Okay? So it means with new discoveries, we get work, we get jobs, etc., etc. But how to cooperate? How to cooperate, I think, is within the management of institutions to tell us, and you will receive the direction from them.
Thank you for this very interesting topic about TDS and TGRP. I come from the background of risk management, and most specifically insurance. And the underlying questions every time that any